7 things I wish I had known about being a husband. 7 things I wish I had known that before I got married. I wish somebody warned me and told me these things.
It was not going to be easy.
That was not going to be easy. Sometimes that rush to get married.
Yes,
I cannot wait to get married. Especially when you're in a relationship, I cannot wait to get married to the love of my life.
Yes, so let me tell you that there's something inside that love of your life.
Yeah, marriage is work and a lot of work. And those are some of the things that I wasn't told before I got married. No, very few people literally told us or told me, and I believe same with my wife, told us about many of the things we faced in marriage. And I think maybe because some of those people too were not told. So I don't know. They there's no
expect that you're going to figure it out. You're going to know when you get inside there.
Yeah, when you get there. It should be you want to get married.
Be going.
When you get there, you will know. All right, so I'm going to just jump straight into it. And of course, because this is my confession, my wife, of course, can corroborate this and, of course, attest to some of them. So I've written this out because I really want to share them, especially for newly wedded couples, for single men, and, of course, married people who are struggling in their marriages. This could really open up your eyes to some of the things that I've learned that you perhaps need to learn and that could really change your marriage. So let's go right into it. Number 1 is that I learned that marriage is majorly about forgiveness. For some reason, when we just got married, I always believe one of the major ways to resolve hurts and pains is silent treatment and malice. I believe like if I keep quiet for a long time, or if I keep malice for like 2 weeks, she will come to understand that what she has done is wrong, and all of that. But, the more, we've gotten married, the more I realize that that's just a terrible decision. Malice for a very long time just makes things worse. It doesn't make it any better. And malice itself does not resolve any issues. Yeah.
Thank God. That's all I can say. Because he has really changed. Things were not this way, when we initially got married. We would have lots of disagreements.
We used to have lots.
Yeah, and forgiveness was a big issue for us. Like you said, malice, we'd just be walking past each other.
Yeah.
It was not a good thing. It was not a good thing.
Yeah.
That atmosphere was not healthy.
And I think one of the things that also, contributed to not understanding how to deal with conflict in marriage was because, to be very sincere, I hardly ever saw my parents fight. I hardly ever saw my parents quarrel. So it felt abnormal.
Wow.
That we were quarreling in our marriage.
Never saw them fight.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was because they normally resolve their issues like, amicably, maybe in the bedroom by themselves. I think if I can count maybe just twice was when, I could notice, but they were so good at it. They were so good at not really showing that they had issues between themselves. I maybe just once or twice, very rarely. So for me, I didn't get a precedence on how to handle conflict. And I don't recall my dad or mom ever calling me to say, "Oh, Samuel,
when your wife,
this is how we have conflict, or this is how we resolve it, or conflict is normal, or all of those things like that." I don't know. In your marriage, I don't know. Did your parents ever call you like that? I don't recall.
No.
So for me, it was weird. I thought it was my wife's fault that we're always fighting because our marriage is not supposed to be like this.
I think I remember also whenever we have those fights, you always express your frustration.
Yeah.
That it's not what you want. But at the same time, you also used to struggle to let go.
Yeah, absolutely. I love peace. That's an interesting thing.
But then it's still like, if you want peace, then
let peace.
That was so hard.
I think when we understood our languages of apology, it also helped.
Yeah,
it also
you should
helped.
go and watch that episode.
Yes,
how to apologize correctly.
Yeah, how to apologize correctly in marriage, because it was when we understood our languages of apology that my wife also understood how to,
Communicate
apologize
the
to me, especially when I'm the one that
apology,
is
yeah.
hurt, and so on. And that really, really, really helped us. I did not know that there's something called the root of bitterness, and that bitterness and resentment are major elements in marriage that could literally ruin marriages, especially when we let offenses and bitterness and hurts linger for too long. So, for instance, if I've hurt her, and me, I'm keeping malice, hoping that one day she'll come and apologize, for instance, now, and she's getting hurt. Hurt will just go to bitterness, or to resentment,
Yeah.
from resentment to bitterness, and you now form roots of bitterness. And before you know it, that thing, even though you sweep it under the rug later and you address it, it's still there.
It's still there.
It now forms a bigger root.
It's still there.
Later on.
And me too. And then I don't know I used to have strong head too.
Yeah.
So with his strong head,
Strong
my
head now
strong
collide
head.
with strong head. Strong head times 2.
Yeah. But things are much better now, and I think that I'll say that you have actually improved.
Thank you.
In terms of that forgiveness you have, and you communicate how you
Feel.
want things,
Yeah.
yes, or how you had expected me to behave or handle things, and your emotions are much, much milder now.
Yeah. When we just got married, the emotions used to be very high, and those are part of the lessons, right, that we have learned now that have really, really helped our marriage a lot. Yeah. So number 2 for me is that I realized that love is not always about romance. So there is also a willful aspect to marriage. No thanks to Hollywood and Nollywood and some of these
Bollywood,
that make marriages to look like every day,
and they all lived happily together
ever after.
There was no problem in their life.
No, and maybe it's like they didn't even have to do anything for that romance and that spark to just continue. That the spark is always there,
24/7.
Yes. So I came into marriage with that expectation that the spark will always be there. Maybe we're in love with each other. And in love means that we're always kissing, we're always romancing, we're always doing this. That's the expectation, because we're watching all of this in movies. People are in love. What do they do now? They are always holding hands. They are always doing this.
Yeah.
But that holding of hands, this is what I learned. It takes a lot of intentionality, a lot of willfulness. I remember one of my mentors when I was in university. I think they had come to talk to us about relationship and marriage. And they defined love. The way they defined it that day, when you are in your 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, you don't get, you don't understand. We don't know. There's so many things we don't know. Teenagers think they know everything. It's a lie. It's when you get into marriage. They define love as the willful commitment to pleasing the other person. Willful commitment. When they define it, all of us, they said we should write down willful commitment.
And underline it.
I'm sure. And we actually wrote it down.
Because that's why it's stuck.
Yeah, exactly. And we wrote it down, we underlined it. But we didn't have the full grasp, the full meaning of willful. Willful means conscious and intentional commitment to please that other person. Because if someone you love, you have to be intentional about pleasing them. It was when I got into marriage, and after many years, to be very sincere, that I realized, oh wow, if I want to keep the spark in my home, if I want to keep the romance alive, if I want to make this woman happy and please her and meet her needs, I have to be intentional. And being intentional meant that I have to know the things I need to do to make her happy. I have to know the things that please her, not the things I think would please her. I have to understand our love language and speak the love language fluently.
Yes,
right?
So you have to give me money.
Yes.
Buy
like
me
I told
gifts.
you guys in some of our episodes,
buy me
it took revelation of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, and one thing I think that you do so well, dear, I must say, that shows, for me, it speaks love to me. It's how you go all the way to help in kitchen. You just get to the kitchen, you see me busy, I'm washing the dishes, you help me do the dishes, I come back home, everywhere is sparkling. Like, it is so sweet.
Thank you.
It is so sweet, or I come back home and then you set out the boys with the food and I'm like, wow. And I just get home and I'm like, I just cross my leg.
It takes a lot of intentionality.
Yeah, but it didn't start like that.
It did not.
But I have seen, that love intentionality we're talking about. I've seen you being intentional.
Yeah.
About loving me. I remember my last birthday and I just kept saying, wow, 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 wow.
Like siren.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, I can see that you have grown. You have grown. And you are still growing.
Thank
and
you.
I'm loving the growth. If this growth is like this, I will not want the higher growth.
Praise God.
It should not stop like by God's grace.
Yeah, and I think one of the greatest compliments your spouse can give to you is that you are growing. I believe so. Wow. I believe one of the greatest compliments your spouse can give to you is that you are growing. We should actually write that down.
That's deep.
I put it on our Instagram. It's very powerful.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah, one of the greatest compliments your spouse can give to you is that you're growing. If you're not growing, your marriage will not work. That's the truth. It takes a lot of intentionality to make marriage work, to add the spark in your home. It is easy to see other people's homes or see Hollywood and see Nollywood and see how it's done. But there is a lot of work that has gone into a happy home. Don't just pray for a happy home. Do the work. Don't just pray for a happy home, do the work. It's easy to see.
I'm writing all of them down.
Yeah. It's easy to see other people doing well and all of that, but they may not tell you the amount of work that they're putting in behind the scenes to actually make their home the way it is.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, so those are some of the things. That's number two that I've learned. Number 3, I realized that this one took me a while to realize it, that marriage is not all about me.
Preach.
That's
Confess.
the truth. Yeah, and that's the truth. Because, I don't know, maybe it's our African culture, or maybe just, looking at our parents, when you see the husband, it's like, that's the man, the king,
the Lord.
The Lord.
The ruler, the authority,
the authority.
The master, the boss,
and you just admire all of those, all of that patriarchal sort of sense of authority and power, and and makes you feel like it's about you. Your wife was meant to come and serve you. And be there for you and be everything to you and all of that. And early years of our marriage, that was what I was expecting. That this woman would just be bowing down. I bow down, I worship you. That's sincerely, that was my expectation. I would just be bowing down and worshiping and all of that.
I'm bowing down and I'm worshiping you.
Okay.
What are you trying to say?
So I thought I'll just cross my leg, go to work, come back home, cross my leg, don't have to do anything. I'll just be served, because of course I've married a wife now and the wife is meant to serve me. I did not realize that I'm actually the one to serve her. I did not realize that leadership is actually about my service. So leadership is not that authoritarian. Our daddy has arrived. The owner of the house has arrived. Leadership is actually about service. But it took a lot of years to learn that I've got to be a servant leader. I've got to put my family first. I've got to put my wife first. I've got to put my kids first, before me. I've got to be, I remember listening to the late Dr. Miles Monroe when he talked about father, and he talked about the real meaning of the word father. He says it's the word pater, and that meant that you are the foundation.
Yeah.
And the foundation is what everything is built upon. So everybody else is stepping on you, so to speak, because you are the nourisher, you are the foundation. They say people say the husband is the head of the house. They don't know. The husband is the foundation, the one that holds everything in place. And that means you are not just the one that everybody is bowing down and worshiping to. You're actually the one that you are serving. You're a servant leader, and you put others.
Serving your wife, serving your children, and the way the Bible says it all. How Jesus Christ himself serves the church, and that's how the husband, God expects the husbands to also serve their, the wife, and wash her, make her clean, and then present her to God. It's so beautiful, and I like what you said, and I see that, how you go all the way to serve our boys, how you go all the way to serve us, you sacrifice. It's a calling to sacrifice. It's a huge sacrifice.
Husbandry is a calling to sacrifice.
Yeah. And I just want to thank God for your life, babe.
Thanks, dear. And that means that, maybe you are currently a husband and you're facing a lot of issues in your home. You might need to check yourself. Am I truly being a servant leader? Or am I doing this thing just based on convenience? Whatever is not convenient for me, I'm not doing it. If it's not convenient for me, if it's not going to serve me, because the truth is, marriage is not about you.
It's not about you.
It's not about you. It's about you and your wife together. And both of you need to feel like this is serving the both of you. And you, being the husband, being the leader, you've got to take the lead in actually making that sacrifice.
You've got to take the lead, especially the way God expects you to. Because you're talking about kingdom marriage. You're not just any kind of husband. Because you can choose to be any kind of husband. But if you want to be a godly husband, a God kind of husband, then you've got to realize that you are not there for yourself. You are there to fulfill God's purpose, in that home. And it's just you serving your wife, your children.
Part of this learning for me was realizing that I have to model Christ in my home.
That's deep.
I have to model Christ, and the Bible says Christ laid down his life for us. So we have to lay down our lives as a husband. I've got to lay down my life for my wife and my children. It's not easy. It's tough, and that means doing some. That means doing some of the chores that you don't like. That means showing up, to things and to places where you don't like. That means sacrificing maybe a career that could literally take you higher. For there are some men that cannot do those things, and in the early years of our marriage, for me that was tough as well. There was a time I was looking to go and become a lecturer outside of even the city where we lived in, and I almost did not want to care. Because I'm the man of the house. And even if you are the man of the house, you are the provider or whatever, if you abandon your family and you cannot make sacrifices, then you realize that things may not be together in the long run. It may not be together because not everything is about you. Not everything is about your ego and your pride. Not everything is about you.
What you want.
And some of us have witnessed our fathers, parents do this kind of thing. It does not mean it is right.
True.
And sometimes the excuse is because I'm the provider, so, we do those kind of, no, we've got to be very careful. We've got to balance it out with our spouses. You didn't marry a robot. You didn't marry AI. You've got to come to that place where you're intentional about sacrificing your desires and your convenience.
So that you don't become an absent father or an absent husband.
Number 4 thing that I learned, I realized, this took a while to realize, that the choice of my career can actually affect my marriage.
Wow.
Yes. It is a good thing to be ambitious. It's a good thing to have vision. It's a good thing to want to be great and to do the mightiest and amazing things. One of my strongest ambitions since I was a teenager was to become a professor. But the more I look at wanting to become a professor and all of that, which I will still be by God's grace, but the question is, do I want to run to become the professor now at the expense of my home, at the expense of my marriage, at the expense of my children that are still young and all of those things? Because I could actually become. Could
achieve what you want to achieve.
I could literally, we have some of our friends who are chasing their careers outside of the country their family lives in, just because, they want
career is the priority.
Career is the priority for them, not the home. But, in my learning over the last, few years in marriage, I've realized that, oh my goodness, no, my home and my marriage comes first. My wife and my children comes first. Money come later. And guess what we have realized? What I've realized, that money will still come eventually. if I don't go chasing, it will eventually come. If I put if I put God and my family first, that money will eventually come. I will not lose anything in the end.
Yeah.
And that has been very powerful for me.
Yeah, I like how if you haven't watched our video yet on how we balance our marriage, career, and ministry, you should go and watch that episode.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing for us, where we have agreed that our home is priority. I've seen my husband sacrifice jobs of 6 figures salary.
We did that in one of the episodes. We talked about it.
Yes, because at the end of the day, our home is priority and what God wants for our lives. So it's beyond what we want.
Yeah,
it's more of what
God wants for our lives, where He's taking us. That's more important.
Yes, and my husband has realized also in all of this that our home for him is his first ministry.
Yeah.
So he cannot afford to just go and do whatever he wants to do, or work wherever he wants to work, and for us that has really helped our own home.
It has. And it took some time to realize this, and that's why I'm sharing this with young men who are yet to be married, young men who have just gotten married, and of course people who are having issues in their marriages, and this is one of those things that you're struggling with.
Can I just quickly add to it? It's like you had mentioned already, that when people travel or just go to one place to go and
abandon your family.
Yes, if you're not careful, you can lose that home. You can lose those children.
It's risky.
Yes, and some men are of the mentality that I am the provider, and because I am the provider,
I'll do whatever it takes.
Yes, but realize that beyond being God is a provider, but beyond actually working hard, which is not bad, you cannot afford to neglect your other responsibilities. Yeah. It's not just one responsibility, As at the same time, you are there for the children, you are there for your wife. So you cannot just abandon those other responsibilities and go for one. So always think about, look at the whole picture, as a man, because then if the head is out, you don't protect the rest of the home.
Absolutely. Imagine, like we talked about, refer to fatherhood being foundation as well. Imagine the foundation is out too, the house will collapse. And this is what the devil does. The devil attacks the fathers in the home. And when the devil attacks the father in the home, what it does is he now paints the picture of that wrong fatherhood as God, because God is a father. So that's why some people till today, they can never reconcile the fact that God is a father, because their fathers were never present.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of sacrifice as a husband and as a father to actually ensure, that the choice of my career does not affect my other responsibilities at home, in actually being present in the life of our children.
Yeah.
We even have boys. So my role, in fact, not just boys, whether it's we had girls, if it had been the same thing.
Yeah.
That role there, being present, being available, providing the advice of a father, the love of a father, the hugs of a father, is extremely crucial. Don't go take a career that will not allow you to be able to do that.
Yeah, because you are modeling stuff for them to follow.
Yeah, they do without seeing like daddy's money is money.
They're
money,
either
money.
seeing or they are not seeing the right thing.
Yeah.
So
May God help us in Jesus' name. And this is very powerful. Number 5, I also realized that sex is not the way it is in porn. So for those of you who, when we talked about sexual intimacy, I think I talked about this. I was addicted to porn for many years, like really, really addicted. And because of that, these things inform you. They inform you of how sex is going to look like, how sex is going to be, and all of that.
The performance.
And it's a very performance-driven industry, right? So when I got married, I was expecting some things. The way the women
the
there
performance.
Yeah.
Performance from someone that is a novice. No performance.
You cannot go and kiss somebody's daughter because you have seen you have seen things on so it took me a lot of time to realize that I actually didn't know anything. I
remember you were still saying it.
I didn't know anything.
Times you thought you knew.
You thought you knew a lot because you've been watching pornography and all of that, but you realize I actually didn't know anything. And it takes a lot of humility to come to that conclusion. And for me, it took years to get to that conclusion. And I wish I had known that before I got married. I wish someone had mentioned it to me that, wow, all these things you thought you knew about sex, or you thought you know about sex, you don't know anything. you don't know anything. And this is actually the way to guide and know and all of that. I wish somebody actually mentioned or said that to me, and that's why we're mentioning to young men now, before you get married, or people who have just gotten married, or or people who are having issues with sexual intimacy in their marriage. I actually recommend that our other episode on sexual intimacy. I think 2 parts we did on that.
You should go and watch it.
Very, very powerful.
Because if you're not careful as a man or even as a woman, whichever party is involved, you could begin to compare your spouse to what you have seen in porn, or you could begin to have
unrealistic expectations.
Yes, unrealistic expectations. You think she's gonna jump from the pole?
Yes, so she was gonna grab the pole, and you're going to do it on the pole.
Those guys are acting, and some of
them are on drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah, some of them are performance enhancement drugs and all of that.
So you cannot compare it to your own marriage. And I think I should also say that the beauty about sex in marriage, especially the kingdom marriage, is that, especially when both of you have, you have the rest of your life to enjoy, to figure each other out, to learn. Every day, even up to now, every day we're still learning. Yeah, we are still discovering new things.
And that's the beauty of it. That's actually the beauty of it. Where together you're exploring, you're discovering, you're learning, you're practicing, you're knowing what works for you, what works on the other person, and all of those sort of things like that. You're changing, styles, you're changing things, you're talking about it, you're communicating. It's beautiful.
Very important.
It's beautiful than to lavish one, your expectation
of getting frustrated because you're not getting those
things that you have seen. No, very careful. So that's one of the things I learned. Number 6, I realized, this one took me a lot of years to realize as well, that my wife is not every woman. There's this thing that people say, all women do this. Every woman likes this. Every woman. My wife is our own unique, special breed that I have to take. You wanted to
unique blessing Ekundayo.
Unique blessing Ekundayo. That I have a responsibility to learn her. I've got to learn how she wants to be loved. I've got to learn how she perceives things. I've got to learn what she likes, what she does not like. I've got to learn how all of those things. I have to humble myself to learn it and not just put her in this box that all women are supposed to be like this. All men are to do like
so
this.
Why you not like this?
So why you not like this? My mom was like that. Why you not like that? In fact, I remember when we just got married, I used to challenge you that my mom was like this. Why you not like that? Remember early days of marriage. Because I was always comparing
in your mind.
In my mind. I mean, I've probably voiced it out a few times as well too. Because there's this expectation. See, my mom, you used to be very calm and peaceful. In fact, we have never seen my mom maybe talk back at dad, or maybe sort of maybe deliver her own point, maybe in front of everybody. But my wife, she will say her own, although not in a very negative way. She will say her own. She will say what she has to say. She will give her points and all of that. Doesn't mean that my dad was domineering or controlling, but I think maybe that's their own, what works for them, But when I married my wife, I think I had that expectation that she will fit into that mode, but it was not mode. The mode was not moldy. So I had to realize that my wife is not every woman. My wife is not my mom, and
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I also want to say that I noticed also that sometimes when you wanted to start changing, there are times that you would now go and read about something, and then you come back and you just but you read that for women. I'm like, babe, I'm not women. I'm not women.
I mean,
you need to figure out what works for me. And it took a while. It took a while,
but we are getting there.
We're there.
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
And number 7 is I realized this later on as well, that my attitude is key to the success of our marriage. My attitude. My attitude is a paintbrush. And it is very key. And if I don't fix, some of my attitudes that are bad and all of that, I could actually be endangering our marriage.
Wow.
And I could be modeling a very bad husband and a very bad father to my children.
Wow.
So it was so important that, for me to realize that, for instance, my attitude matters more than my intelligence or my eloquence, that I can talk better, talk faster, talk, more, louder. It doesn't mean that I should have a bad attitude. That's not an excuse for a bad attitude. That my attitude also, matters when I come back from work, and my wife has done a lot of great things, and I just want to come and cross my leg. I will not even appreciate and honor her and thank her, and just come and now expect to be served as well. I also realize that my attitude is important when I'm stressed. Sometimes we are stressed, and your attitude is just bad and stinking.
Grumpy
and you use the
and
excuse that you are
annoyed.
stressed. Because I'm stressed now. Can't you see?
I expect the person to understand that. Yeah.
No, you have to, because I realize that I choose my attitude. So I've got to be very intentional about
Wow,
choosing
I like
the right
that.
attitude, from time to time, and my attitude when I don't feel like doing something too also matters, because sometimes not all of us like everything,
Yeah.
but you've got to have a good attitude at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see your attitude has improved a lot. I can say it also in terms of your voice. Before tone of voice. Before, and you're still working on it.
Yeah,
Like
we are now, like,
before when my husband is that attitude when he's a bit upset, and he has a really loud voice naturally.
Naturally, anyway.
Yeah, so if he's not upset, the tone of the voice goes
higher,
few decibels higher. And the attitude is, I'm like, babe, you're raising your voice. Like, I'm not raising my voice. This is my voice. This is how I talk. But again, that attitude we're talking about, it has improved.
Yeah,
it has improved.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of humility and teachability to really take feedback.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important things that has helped this point that we're making on attitude is taking feedback. Being humble to take feedback and doing something intentionally about that feedback to improve next time. Very important.
Yeah.
And let me give you guys one bonus. I wrote down one bonus. I realized that when children come, they bring a different dynamics to marriage.
Wow.
Sincerely, nobody warned me about this one before I got married. Nobody warned me. Nobody told me.
You never experienced it.
Nobody told me. I just thought that maybe we are two people that love each other, and everything will just continue. And go, hey, when those masters, when the masters, have you heard they call them masters?
Yeah.
When they came on the scene like this, they just changed the whole game for everybody. They changed the game sexually. They changed the game, in terms of our rhythm and the way we talk.
Stuff.
They just redefined how we. They redefined almost everything for us. Like how we sleep, how we wake up, where we go, what we do, holiday.
How money we spend. Our life changed forever. Forever.
And those even when you discuss these things in courtship, nobody talks about what happens when the children comes. Nobody discusses those things. Like we talk about children, like in terms of how many kids you want to have and all of that, but hardly do people talk about, so when kids come,
the reality that sets in, and how it can impact your marriage positively and negatively too.
Yes. Even from the state of pregnancy. Like nobody taught me a lot about what happens when my wife becomes pregnant. I didn't know. That's why till today I'm very intentional about teaching young men. Some of my friends who got married after me, I always call them up when their wife becomes pregnant, or when their wife they're just about to get married. I will call them up and tell them some of these things that I've learned. And how, like one of my really, really good friends, when the wife got pregnant, I had to call him and say, guy, you have to be very, very intentional now. All right, your woman will be going through a lot in this pregnancy. You've got to pay attention, because nobody taught me all of those things, and I see it as being able to add value to them, to be able to learn some of these things as well. So if you're watching this and you're a young man, these are some of the major things. Maybe you can come and book a clarity session with me where we sit down and talk about some of the things. But it's very powerful. All right, maybe most people won't advise you. They won't tell you anything, and then you realize your wife suddenly becomes pregnant. You think everything will just be the same.
Yeah.
Not
realizing that those hormones they change how she looks, how she feels, how she behaves, everything changes. And still having that expectation that you had before pregnancy, at pregnancy, and at birth, and after birth.
Nobody, no, as in, maybe there's a whole episode we can do on that, like pregnancy, before, during, after, man, because it's a lot to unpack. And nobody warned me about all of this. And sincerely speaking, I don't recall reading it in any book. So it came as a shock, and as a first timer, my goodness, it was tough. It was tough, and it was tough on me. Imagine it's tough being tough on me. It'll be tough on my wife as well, because she's the one carrying the pregnancy. So I wish somebody had warned me about some of these things, so that I knew how to choose my attitude during this period, and also most importantly that how to actually parent. A baby is different from how to parent a toddler, how to parent a teenager. So some of these things we learn them as we go, but it probably would have been better if we learned these things before we get into them. I mean, learning on the job is good, but it can be very costly. It's usually better to learn before. And if you're single, you're a single man watching this, there are many resources available. You can read books about parenting, about so many things. Now that you're watching this, it means that if you have an edge over us before we got married. And that's why we're doing this podcast as well, to be able to help educate other people, to be able to model a kingdom marriage for them and see some of the things that we have learned, so that you don't get to repeat some of the mistakes that we have made. All right. Yes, and just watch out for my own version. Yes. So she's going to do her own version. Some of the things she has learned, or she wishes about being. I wish I knew, or I wish I had known. About being a wife. Yes, I'm going to do my version too. Yeah, very, very important. Okay, thank you very much for joining us today. To everyone, commenting, thank you very much. We really appreciate you. We love you. We honor you. And we are glad that you're always here to watch this episode. We hope this has been a blessing to you. It has added value to you. And you are also going to share it. So do us a favor, copy the link right now. Share it to your friends and family. Share it on your church WhatsApp group. Let people watch it, because it could be a blessing to life. It could save a home, right? It could save many people. It could help a lot of young men as well too. So please share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it everywhere. Share it on your WhatsApp status. Yes, because it's clickable. People can click on it and watch. Spread the word. And leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe. God bless you. Until next week, when we'll come your way again on Purpose Driven Marriage Podcast. Bye-bye now. Bye.